Hello and welcome to this week's Content Tea Party. Thank you so much for joining me. I hello Sayali. I can see you're already here today. Great. Oh, how do you get that countdown timer on the live? I'll answer that question in just a minute. I just wanted to welcome all of you who are joining me today. I also wanted to welcome you if you're watching the replay, and I wanted to also ask you to stay with us because we have some amazing things coming up today. There's been quite a bit of news in the social media sphere. Um, yes, so to answer your first question, Sayali, I'm actually going live, as I've probably mentioned before, through Ecam Live. And in fact, we had a little bit of a problem last week with the double audio. So do let me know that you can hear me well. I reckon it's a Facebook problem, but it's always good to make sure things are fine. And the countdown timer actually comes from Ecam Live when you schedule your live. But it does happen as well with other tools. So if you use Zoom to go live on Facebook, or soon enough as well, if you use the actual Facebook tool, which we're going to mention in a minute today, you can also get all these extra features now. So the countdown timer happens when you have already scheduled it, and then it's a good notification. It's very good, I find, for me, because I can very easily go live 5 or 10 minutes late if I procrastinate. So to have a timer is actually really, really good. Great. So what do we have today? It's been a very hot week. In terms of news and also in terms of weather here. I know some places in Northern Europe had a heat wave last week. We have the heat wave this week in the southern part of Europe. Hopefully it will be a little bit more manageable next week, so we can actually leave our office and go to the beach a little bit more often. So what do we have today? Today we are going to have a look at a little bit of social media news. We're going to talk about 404 pages. And for those of you who don't know what they are, don't worry, I will explain. And the great thing is that we all have one, even if we don't know we do. And then we're going to review Catherine's website. Catherine is a mindfulness coach, and she will be launching her website soon. So it's going to be really interesting to see her website review. Okay, so let's jump straight in. And right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, and yes, I am using Ecam Live a little bit better now, so you're going to see some snazzy graphics and things coming up. So right, so the first thing is Facebook collections. For those of you who have used them before, Facebook collections are actually when you have the save button at the top of a post. Sometimes when you like a post, there are those 3 buttons on the right hand side, and when you click on that, it allows you to save it. Now, so far, those were like your own bookmarks, but from now on, you're also going to have lists that you can share publicly. And this is going to be great because it's going to be a bit like, like when you have YouTube playlists. So what happens is that basically when you go to the posts and you save them, of course, you can also save your own. And this is going to help you if you want to share it with someone. And I mean, if they are like YouTube at all, and I do reckon that the feature is going to function pretty much like YouTube will, YouTube's playlists. So you can really combine, say, different videos and different posts. And this, I'm sure, in the future will affect how many of your posts and what posts people see in sequence. So let's say you're watching a video on YouTube. The next natural one that's going to be suggested to you is going to be another one in the playlist. So, I think this could be a very interesting feature and would probably develop into something quite interesting in the future. Okay, the next interesting tool. Oh, hi Silvana, hi Hilda. Thank you for joining, really nice to see you here. So Facebook has also rolled out updates to the live producer, and the live producer is basically nothing but that screen that appears when you click the live button on your Facebook page. So when you click go live, you get the screen, which I can actually show you right here. Oops, okay, yeah. So there you go, you get this screen, and The interesting thing is that what they have added is they're adding graphics. So things like, like these things you're seeing in this video, but the ones you're seeing here are coming through Ecamm. Now they're going to be able to do them specifically through Facebook. Now, there have been a lot of updates lately, so the tool I am going to, I should definitely come with a warning. It has not been working very well. It definitely does not like my webcam, which is a standard sort of HD Logitech webcam. And, Facebook just doesn't want to go live with it, doesn't like it, not directly at least. But they are going to add a lot of things. So you'll be able to have overlays, you'll be able to have graphics, you'll be able to share the screen more easily, which at the moment is really hard because you cannot switch between live and screen sharing. So that makes, your live a little bit uncomfortable. So that's definitely going to be resolved. Of course, it will be rolled out, and usually, in about 2 or 3 months, the technology will stabilize and we'll be able to use it, and trust it, because that's the main thing. It's very hard to go live with a tool you cannot trust because there's so much to keep in mind while you're going live, and you already have enough to think about. The last thing you want is a tool that actually does not work. Okay, the next piece of interesting news I saw on the internet today was about LinkedIn. Some of you might use LinkedIn for lead generation. It is very good if you deal with people who, if your clients are either small businesses, but also if your clients are people who service small businesses, because they are going to be on LinkedIn, of course, to find their clients. So it can be quite useful. A lot of people are trying LinkedIn again because Facebook has reduced its reach, so definitely has some value there. So what they have done, basically, you can have a private profile and a company page on LinkedIn, just like you can on Facebook. But what they're doing is they're limiting the amount of people that you can actually invite to your page. And I'm very happy they're doing this. I wish Facebook did this, because you get a lot of spammy behavior with people who just connect to you and then invite you to their page. So what they're doing here is they're saying that when there are different admins on a page, you have a number of credits. And when you send an invite, that uses up a credit for that particular page. So there are only a certain number of credits, which is 100 credits a month, that can go out from a particular page. So all the admins together can now only invite 100 people a month to actually like their page. Okay, let's switch this AC on because it is now getting a little cold. Okay, so only 100 people a month between all the admins, whereas before we could kind of get away with it because if you had different admins, you were sort of flagged as spam as the individual inviting, and you could invite quite a few people before that happened. So now they're going to put a cap on that. And I must admit, I'm really pleased they are, because every time I log into my LinkedIn, oh my goodness, I am really, really overwhelmed, even almost more so than Facebook. Okay, so if you have questions about what I've been talking about, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm going to move on to something which I never planned to actually talk about, and this is 404 pages, but I logged into my statistics earlier this month, and I found out I actually intentionally went to look for the 404 page, because a 404 page is what is shown to your audience when they've clicked either on a search result or maybe on a PR piece or an article you posted on another site and you had a backlink to your website. When that link is broken, they end up on a 404 page. And what happened is that when I checked the statistics, I realized that I had actually 5,000 hits a month on my 404 page, which means that I was losing out. I am losing out because I still haven't rectified this, but I'll show you some great examples in a second. I actually was losing a lot of this traffic because it was coming, it was just landing on this page, and basically they find nothing there because the 404 page just says page not found. So it's basically a broken link. It happens to a lot of websites, and there are tools out there that you can use to find your broken links, but it can be quite hard to find, especially when you have an old site that's been around like mine and there's been a lot of changes in the content. It can really make a difference. Okay, so what can you do to make sure that you don't lose these 404 page hits? So I'll tell you what I intend to do. The most important thing is to find something really interesting. So put something that's eye-catching. So instead of disappointing the person that found a broken link, you actually kind of surprise them. And I'm going to show you some great examples of, hang on a second, I'm going to show you, I'm on the wrong screen, sorry. Okay, I'm going to show you some great examples of 404 pages, which I found on the internet. And I was actually doing this because I wanted to actually find some great examples for my own page. And I must admit that maybe these are a little bit of a high benchmark, but they're a lot of fun to look at. Okay, so the first one is probably the most doable, and it comes from Bitly. So when you click on a page and Bitly has a broken link, you actually find this page, and it just basically very calmly says, hey, there is a 404 error. I think this is actually a bit of a mistake in the sense that a lot of people don't know what a 404 error is. So, but it actually then explains what it is. It means you've clicked on a bad link or entered a bad URL. So that's pretty good. What I love though is I do love this one. So this one, these people really know their target audience, and basically their target audience is old enough to remember Space Invaders. If you're young, you probably don't remember this game, but the goal is basically to move away from these dots that are falling down. So what they actually do is distract you when you land on your 404 page until you finally realize that you've just been playing this game, and then hopefully you go somewhere else on the website. So a lot of fun, but perhaps a little bit of a rabbit hole as well. I just love this one because it's an animation that has been embedded in HTML5, and it's just so sweet and so interesting that you don't want to go away from this site. It actually tells you that you can click and go back to reality because of course a 404 page is kind of like a backdoor page that did not work. And finally, I wanted to show you this one. And in fact, if you want to check out the 404 page of any site, you just go to the web address /404 and you will see it. And I want to reload this one because it's a sweet little animation. And I really like these animations, but they do need to be lean to load. So, do not use Flash because it's very much out of fashion and it's not supported. So definitely go for HTML5 or maybe a GIF animation. Okay, so I just wanted to show you these. I would, in my case, what I'm going to do is, of course, give the user a little bit more information about where else they can go when it comes to landing on my 404 page. I will share that with you in the next few weeks when I've finished it and it's all nicely set up on my site. And hopefully all those 5,000 hits a month will actually start turning into people who actually navigate my site instead of just landing on a 404 page that tells them there is nothing there. Okay, and of course, do this for your site. It's not difficult to do. Just ask your developer, or if you're doing it yourself, just research the platform that you're using, because 404 pages are pretty standard and they can be really interesting. And they can capture people that might otherwise go somewhere else because they didn't find what they were looking for. Okay, so quick sip of coffee today. I'm cheating, it's not a tea party, it's a coffee party. The heat makes me very sleepy, so I needed a bit of a kick this afternoon. So we're going to go over to Catherine's website today, and we're going to do a quick review. Now, Catherine has sent this over with a little disclaimer in the sense that she said it's not quite finished. And it's quite funny because, funny not sort of in the ha-ha kind of way, but it's interesting to see that every person that sends me their website to review, and by the way, if you're watching and you would like your website reviewed, do feel free to either message me through the Facebook page or personally, or join my Facebook group and I put posts over there regularly to ask people to have, if they want their website reviewed. Little side note there. Basically, every person that wants to have their website reviewed, well, 9 out of 10 will say, oh, because I feel that my website is not ready. And that is totally fine, and that is totally true. Your website will always be a work in progress. In fact, this is why you always need to have you always need to have your statistics in place, and you always need to follow what's happening on your page, because it's not static. Google needs to keep visiting it so that your new page is ranked, so that people can find you and book your services. It also needs to evolve as your business evolves, because it needs to reflect what you do. Otherwise, you will have a little bit of a disconnect. So do not feel like a website is a one-off project. That it may be sort of a one-off larger investment in the beginning, but it's definitely not a one-off project. And it's one of those things that you should revisit on a weekly basis, ideally, to put in more content, but also on a quarterly basis to see, what new features you can add, how the statistics are doing, and how you can actually look at everything and take it a notch up. Okay, so let's dive into Catherine's new website. I like the domain Unlock Your Purpose. I feel that this is very much aligned with what Catherine is doing. I like the new logo because it's colorful, and that's definitely a very good thing. I'm going to check it to see. Yes, it seems to be responsive, which means it adapts itself to mobile and desktop and the different screen sizes automatically, which is very good. It's very important also for Google listings. I think it was a couple of months ago, no, I think it was in March 2020, where Google actually switched completely now to mobile indexing, which means that if your site is not mobile compatible, you're going to get a lot of negative points. So even if your target audience is only on desktop, you still have to service sort of the mobile version pretty well. Okay, because that will help you rank. Okay, so let's have a look at the menu. So there's home, my story, blog, contact me, book my services, testimonials, and work with me. I would put contact me as the last link, just because it's standard and people usually know where to find it. The work with me section is probably more important, so I would put it after my story, and book my services. I don't quite understand the difference between book my services and work with me. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see what that is. Okay, so the booking page allows you to actually pay and book one of the programs right away. And the work with me, from what I can reckon, it looks like it explains. Okay. It looks like my browser is actually not going there. The page is not ranking. Maybe this is what you meant, Catherine. Okay, no, hang on. It is loading. Okay, and I can see that the page might be unfinished. Okay, so this is the longer version, the longest description, and it says contact me. Okay, I'd be interested to understand if these are the same programs. I would imagine they are. What I would do personally, okay, so let's check this out. Okay, one-to-one coaching, mindfulness for children, mindfulness for adults, and just mindfulness. Okay, so you've used this to explain which ones, sort of who you service, but I can see that they're also here. So what I would do is I would remove book my services, and I would put in the booking button in each of the different pages. So if you have a booking option, you can, and if you want to put it on your website, you can put it in the actual page. So after people have read the details, then you can have your payment button at the bottom. You can also perhaps have a 30-minute discovery call. Now the thing is, you wouldn't normally have both. You'd normally have either go directly to the program and buy it, or book a discovery call to see if you're a good match at the end of the sales page, because this is basically a sales page and it needs to have the copy laid out in a way that it's of course selling the program and explaining how it works. Then there is always a decision of, do I put my pricing or do I not put my pricing there? Now if you do put your pricing, it's good that you have the payment button. You can also have a contact me directly button, and also you can also have a different way of doing it. So you could have just an application form. So you could have people to just say apply to work with me, where you take their details, and before they actually pay you, you can actually check if they are a good match and if they have understood the program sort of the right way. So you can qualify the person to see if they are the right person to do your program. So it all really depends on how you want to do it, but definitely the decision should be taken on sort of the amount of work or the amount of leads that you're getting at the moment. So if you're getting enough leads, enough leads to handle, so you can still handle the amount of discovery calls that you have. For instance, I am still at the level where I can handle the discovery calls that I have, but what I've done is I've reduced the discovery call time so that I can fit more people in. There will be a time when you do not have the time to actually do all the discovery calls that everyone wants to have with you. So in that case, you should put a form to filter people to make sure that they are the right match. You can also, of course, have some programs that have the price, so you can go and book directly. However, when something is a little bit more expensive, so when they start hitting, the 800, 900 range, then you may want to first check with them, get them on a short call, check with them that they are a good match and that they will get the benefits that you promised from the session, because you want to make sure that you're not going to go through the whole process of booking them and then of course you have to refund the money or anything. So I would say that you need to make sure that those are a very good fit. Okay, that said, I like the fact that you have the courage to put your prices on the website. That is not something I often see, and that is definitely something that I commend everybody tries, because you would be amazed how well it can work for some. Okay, so far I love the imagery. One thing that I wanted to point out in the home section. Okay, I felt that you don't really need to write unlock your purpose again, because it's very clear up here. And so then it kind of explains what unlock your purpose means at the top. And I really like the way you've broken it down, because you've given me 3 ways of explaining that, and it's become self-aware, maximize your potential, and transform your life. So I really can see sort of what your 3 main promises are, and I think that's really great. I like the boldness of the colors. I can see this is much bolder than your previous website. So I can see the dark and the red, the imagery, there's eye contact, which is great. And then there's a bio and the video. I really like that, because we can get to know you pretty easily. The story is also great. I must admit, I got drawn into that and I read all of it, and it's really, really nicely written. So well done when it comes to that. One thing that I felt a little bit confused by, and I think is something that you may want to have another think about, is the color scheme. I think it's a little bit hard, because your logo actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. So when it comes to choosing your secondary colors, you have a little bit too many to choose from. So I've seen sort of colored different colors and different buttons. there are some colors here that have been taken from the previous site, which maybe you intend to change, which is perfectly fine. But I would say, since you already have so many colors in the logo, I would say pick one color that you're going to use as a secondary color, and pick one color that you're going to use as a highlight color. So maybe you want something that's very eye-catching to be your button color, like perhaps red. And you want, if you have image backgrounds and things like that, you may want to choose then a secondary color that goes with red. Maybe a lighter version of the blue perhaps, which might sort of contrast nicely, but allow you to have a color that is secondary, that can sit in the background, so that it allows you to have a little bit more variety when you come to creating things like these banners, these boxes here, you know, and so on. I would stay away from using too many colors because it will become really difficult to handle over time. So although your logo is nice and colorful, which is great, I would pick one or two colors that I always use in the landing pages, in my free PDFs, you know, in the buttons, so everything you do, so that people start associating these two colors with you. I think 5 are a little bit too much for the human brain. Okay, so let's have a look at the blog. And it's taking just a little bit of time to load. Okay, so the blog looks great. Okay. It gives you the title and then a little summary on the side and the image, which is great. Recent posts. I would like to see more recent posts on the side. The ideal thing to do is to have the category we're in. So let's say I click on one of your posts. So the ideal thing would be to have the category that you're in. So you'd have all the categories here, but the category that you're in, you want to have the posts there open. So as much as possible, you want them to be linked to your other pages. Of course, also I can see that you haven't started doing that yet, but as much as possible, try to put links to your other blog posts and other websites in your blogs, because that's something that Google really likes. Okay, so let's pop onto the Contact Me page. Excellent, I like the quote. If you wish to book a 30-minute complimentary session, you can do it here too. Okay, very good. I like the clarity of it. I would make this font a little bit big. I am not wearing my specs today, but I actually cannot read this without zooming in. So I would make that a little bit bigger. An interesting one is, of course, it's probably still unfinished, but what I would do is I would definitely add a few more links to this footer. And if you can add your recent blog posts either to the footer or to the homepage, it's really going to help Google understand that you have new content regularly on your website, which is going to help with your ranking, and it's going to help with your page authority, and it's also going to help Google find out all the new content that you put on your website. So maybe another section like these 3 boxes underneath, where you have another 3 entry points into the latest 3 blog posts. Okay, yes, one more thing you want to do. Maybe they're already there. But one thing you definitely want is you want to make sure that you get a professional lawyer to have a look at your privacy policy and your disclaimer, especially if you're selling directly. So if you decide to keep all the packages where people can just click and book, you want to make sure that you have your terms and conditions linked from that page very, very specifically. And you need to go through an explanation of how the services are delivered and what kind of rights they have, if you have 30-day money back guarantee, so all these things, because if people pay and then ask to cancel the booking, you need to make sure that you have your terms and conditions on the website, because otherwise they will not have read them before. So if it kind of escalates, it could turn into a little bit of trouble. So definitely you can maybe have a look at a similar site and draft your own terms and conditions, but then get a professional lawyer, ideally specialized in websites, to have a look at it and make sure that everything is in line. Okay, so yes, and then finally we have the social media buttons. I'm not a big fan of putting social media buttons on the website, but definitely if you're going to put them anywhere on your site, then they should definitely be either just before the footer, so that's good here, or in the footer itself. So definitely a good thing. They're in the right place over here. So if you have questions, feel free to get in touch. Okay, I can actually see your comments today. I am gonna try and not pop into Facebook as much as possible. I'm going to do this just for a minute right now to make sure that everything is synchronizing properly. But I'm gonna close it because I have a feeling that we got the double sound on the last video because I actually popped into the page to check the live and somehow it was picking up both sounds. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is check it out. You might hear me double for a minute, and in fact you did. But here we are. I am just checking. Okay, I am just checking the comments. Okay, very good. Excellent. So thank you so much for joining me today. I have one last little surprise which I didn't manage to share with you today. I'm going to give you a little preview of the podcast's first episode. And here you go. My podcast is called The Profitable Content Show, and it's going to launch officially next week. You can already find it on Spotify. You can find it on Google, and you can find it on iTunes. So you can just go and search Stephanie Fitani and The Profitable Content Show should come up. The first episode is with Dr. Cindy Childress, and we talk about how to blog. So if you're an author, if you are a coach, if you're a consultant, if you are an expert or a trainer, and maybe you are starting to blog, and in the long run, you know that it would be really good for your career and for your profession to have a book, then you can actually put the two things together, and you can plan your blog in a way to make sure that you can also use that content to create your book when you're ready to publish it. So this is the first episode. It's actually very interesting. And Dr. Cindy is a ghostwriter, and she has been ghostwriting books and coaching people on how to write their own books for a very long time, and I'm sure you're going to love the episode. We talked about so many great things. Excellent. So you will be seeing more of that in the coming weeks. I will be promoting the episodes as they come out, and Cindy's is going to be the first. And I would like to really thank you for being with me today. If you have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. And also, once the live is finished, feel free to pop them under the video, because of course, if you've been watching the replay, I'm very happy to answer your questions as well. And Catherine, if you didn't manage to join us as well, we did your review, you may want to go a little bit deeper, and feel free to pop those questions into the chat as well. So have a great Friday evening and a really good weekend, and I will see you next week.